The music was loud, the lights were low, and the energy inside that Atlanta club was electric, but nobody was prepared for what was about to go down. Because in the middle of flashing cameras, VIP bottles, and a packed dance floor, Yandy Smith Harris walked in and froze. Right there, under the neon glow, was her husband, Mendeecees Harris. Not alone, not even close. He was posted up in a private section, laughing, leaning in way too close to a woman nobody recognized, but the body language. Oh, it said everything. Her hand on his chest, his whisper in her ear, and the moment Yandy locked eyes with them, the entire vibe shifted. Witnesses say you could feel the tension instantly. Conversations stopped, phones came out, and just when people thought she might turn around and walk away quietly, she didn't. No. Yandy marched straight into that section. What is this? She reportedly snapped, her voice cutting through the music like a blade. The woman stepped back. Mendeecees stood up, but it was already too late. The damage? Done? The humiliation? Public? Fans are shocked because this wasn't just another rumor or Instagram speculation. This was raw. This was live. This was messy. And what happened next? Let's just say, emotions ran high, words were exchanged that can't be taken back, and by the end of that night everything changed. Because, according to insiders, that moment didn't just cause a scene. It ended a marriage. The second Yandy locked eyes with Mendeecees, something inside her snapped, and you could see it written all over her face. This was not confusion. This was not curiosity. This was rage building in real time. The kind of rage that comes from betrayal that's been simmering for far too long. People in the section started backing up slowly because they knew what was coming. This was not going to be a quiet conversation. This was about to be a full-blown explosion. Yandy Smith Harris stepped closer, her heels hitting the floor with purpose. Her stare locked on Mendeecees Harris like she was daring him to explain himself before she even said another word. What is this, Mendeecees? She said again, louder this time, her voice sharp enough to cut through the bass of the music. Mendeecees looked caught, not confused, not innocent, caught. Babe, it's not what it looks like, he started, raising his hands slightly like he was trying to calm a situation that had already spiraled out of control. Not what it looks like, Yandy laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of amusement. It was the kind of laugh that comes right before tears, or chaos. Because from where I'm standing it looks exactly like what I think it is. The woman standing next to him shifted uncomfortably, clearly not expecting to be in the middle of this kind of public confrontation. She tried to step away, but Yandy noticed instantly. Oh no, don't walk away now, Yandy snapped, pointing directly at her. You were real comfortable a second ago. Stay right there. The tension was unbearable. People were whispering, some recording, others pretending not to watch but failing miserably. Fans are shocked because this wasn't staged. This wasn't for TV. This was real life spilling into a public scene. Mendeecees stepped forward, trying to block the situation, lowering his voice. Yandy, can we talk about this somewhere else? No, we can't, she fired back immediately. Because clearly you were comfortable doing this right here in public. So let's talk about it right here in public. Emotions ran high, and you could see Mendeecees getting frustrated now. His calm mask was slipping. You're making a scene, he muttered under his breath. A scene, Yandy repeated louder. Oh, now I'm making a scene. Not you sitting here with another woman all up on you like I don't exist? The crowd reacted with murmurs, and that only fueled Yandy even more. She wasn't backing down. Not tonight. I held you down, she continued, her voice shaking now but still powerful. Through everything. Through the rumors, through the jail time, through the lies. And this is what you do. Mendeecees clenched his jaw, clearly feeling the pressure of the moment. It's not like that, he said again, but this time it sounded weaker, like even he didn't believe it. Then explain it, Yandy shot back. Explain why she's touching you like that. Explain why you're whispering in her ear like I'm not your wife. That word hit different. Wife. It echoed in the air, and even the woman beside him looked uncomfortable enough to take another step back. I didn't know he was married, she suddenly said, trying to defend herself, her voice shaky. Yandy turned to her slowly, her expression shifting from anger to something colder. Disbelief. You didn't know, she repeated, stepping closer. You didn't know, or you didn't care. I swear, I didn't, the woman insisted. He told me they were separated. And just like that, everything changed. The energy shifted. The noise faded. And all eyes went back to Mendeecees. Yandy froze for a second, like her brain was trying to process what she just heard. Separated. She slowly turned her head back toward him, her eyes searching his face for any sign that this wasn't true. Separated, she said quietly, but the quietness made it even more intense. Mendeecees hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. Say something, Yandy demanded, her voice rising again. Tell me you didn't tell her that. It's complicated, he finally said. Wrong answer. Yandy took a step back, like she had just been physically hit. You told her we were separated, she said, her voice breaking now, despite her trying to stay strong. I mean, we've been going through things, he tried to justify, running a hand through his hair. We've been going through things, Yandy repeated. Every marriage goes through things. That doesn't mean you go out here acting single. The crowd was completely locked in now. Nobody was pretending anymore. Phones were fully up. This was the moment everyone would be talking about. You embarrassed me, Yandy continued, shaking her head. You disrespected me in front of all these people. It's not about them, Mendeecees said quickly. It's about us. No, it's not about us, she snapped. Because if it was about us, you wouldn't be out here doing this. The woman quietly slipped further away, clearly wanting no part in what was happening anymore, but the damage had already been done. Her presence alone had exposed something much deeper. And that's when Yandy said the words that made the entire section go silent. I'm done. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. Mendeecees blinked, clearly not expecting that. What do you mean you're done? I mean I'm done, Yandy repeated, this time louder, stronger. I'm tired of defending you. I'm tired of explaining you. I'm tired of looking stupid for you. You're overreacting, he said, shaking his head. Overreacting, she laughed again, but this time there were tears in her eyes. Catching you with another woman and I'm overreacting. It's not like that, he insisted again, but now it sounded desperate. Then what is it, she challenged. Because right now it looks like you chose this over me. That hit him? You could see it. I didn't choose her, he said quickly. But you didn't choose me either. Yandy fired back instantly. And just like that, the entire situation reached a breaking point. And just like that, the entire situation reached a breaking point. Mendeecees stood there frozen for a second, like he was trying to figure out which version of the truth he could still salvage. But Yandy wasn't giving him that time. Not tonight. Don't just stand there looking confused, she said, her voice sharp again. You had plenty to say when you were telling her we were separated. People in the background started reacting louder now, whispering, gasping, some even calling out his name. Fans are shocked because this wasn't just messy, it was unraveling in real time, and nobody could look away. Mendeecees stepped closer again, lowering his voice like he was trying to regain control. Yandy, please, let's go outside. We don't need all these people in our business. Oh, now you care about privacy, she snapped. Where was that energy 5 minutes ago? He exhaled hard, frustration written all over his face. You're twisting this. I'm twisting it, she repeated, stepping even closer. No, Mendeecees, you twisted it the moment you lied about your marriage. The words hit heavy, and for the first time, he didn't immediately respond. That silence. It said everything. So it's true, Yandy continued, her tone dropping, more controlled now but way more dangerous. You've been telling people we're not together. It's not like that, he said again, but his voice didn't carry the same confidence anymore. Then what is it, she demanded. He looked around quickly, realizing there was no way out of this. Not with all these eyes, all these cameras, all this pressure closing in. We've been having problems, he admitted. Real problems. Yandy let out a slow breath, shaking her head. Every couple has problems, but not every husband moves like he's single. I wasn't moving single, he argued, his tone rising now. You don't know the full story. Then tell it, she shot back immediately. Right now. In front of everyone, since you were comfortable embarrassing me in front of everyone. The crowd reacted again, and the tension only got thicker. Mendeecees ran his hands over his face, clearly stressed. This isn't how I wanted this to come out. Come out, Yandy repeated. Oh, so there's more. That one question shifted everything again. He hesitated, and that hesitation, it confirmed it. Yandy's expression changed instantly, like the last piece of her patience just disappeared. Oh my God, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. How long? She asked, looking straight at him now. He didn't answer. How long? Yandy repeated louder. It's not like that, he tried again, but she cut him off immediately. Stop saying that, she snapped. Stop saying that, because clearly it is like that. The energy in the room turned heavy. Even the music felt like background noise now compared to what was unfolding. Was she the first one? Yandy continued, her voice shaking again, or are there more? That question made people in the crowd react louder than anything else. Mendeecees looked away, and that was all the answer she needed. Wow, Yandy said, nodding slowly. Wow, emotions ran high, and you could see tears forming in her eyes. But she refused to let them fall. Not in front of all these people. You really had me out here looking stupid, she continued, her voice cracking just a little. Defending you? Riding for you? While you were out here living a whole different life. It's not like that, he said again. But now it sounded almost automatic, like he had nothing else left to say. Yandy laughed again, but this time it was pure disbelief. You don't even hear yourself anymore, do you? He stepped closer again. Softer now. I never meant to hurt you. That line. It made everything worse. Oh, you never meant to hurt me, she repeated. So what did you think this would do? Make me feel appreciated. I made mistakes, he admitted quietly. Mistakes, Yandy said, plural. He didn't respond. And just like that, the truth got heavier. The family was left divided even before they were physically there because you already knew once this got out, everyone would have something to say. Friends, relatives, fans. Nobody was going to stay silent after this. Yandy wiped under her eye quickly, refusing to let a tear fall fully. I asked you one thing, she said. One thing. Be honest with me. I was trying to protect you, he said. Protect me, she repeated, almost laughing again. By lying, by cheating, by humiliating me in public. He shook his head. I didn't cheat. The entire section reacted to that. Yandy tilted her head slightly, staring at him like she couldn't believe what she just heard. You didn't cheat? No, he said firmly this time. I didn't cheat. Then what is this, she demanded, gesturing around. Because from where I'm standing it looks like cheating. It wasn't like that, he insisted. Nothing happened. Nothing happened, she repeated slowly, stepping even closer to him now. So you're telling me she was just standing here touching you, whispering with you, all for no reason? He hesitated again. And that hesitation, it exposed him all over again. Yandy closed her eyes for a second, like she was trying to hold herself together. You know what she said finally, stepping back. I don't even want to hear it anymore. He looked up quickly. What does that mean? It means I'm done, she said again, stronger this time, louder. Done trying. Done believing. Done defending you? You don't mean that, he said quickly. Yes, I do, she replied instantly. You're emotional right now, he added, like he was trying to rationalize her decision. No, I'm clear, she shot back. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually clear. That hit him differently. So that's it, he asked, his voice dropping. You're just going to walk away? Yandy looked at him for a long moment, like she was searching for something, anything, that would make her stay. But whatever she was looking for, it wasn't there. You already walked away, she said quietly. You just didn't have the courage to say it out loud. And with that, she turned. The crowd parted instantly as she started walking out, people whispering, recording, reacting. Fans are shocked because nobody expected it to end like this. Not in one night, not this publicly. Mendeecees stood there for a second, watching her leave, clearly realizing the weight of what just happened. Then he moved. Yandy, wait, he called out, pushing through the crowd after her. But she didn't stop. Yandy, he said again, catching up to her near the exit, reaching for her arm. Don't touch me, she snapped, pulling away instantly. I'm trying to talk to you, he said. We've done enough talking, she replied coldly. No, we haven't, he insisted. We're not ending like this. We already did, she said, not even looking at him now. Outside, the air was cooler, but the tension, it was still burning. Cars were pulling up, people were lingering, trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening next. You're really going to throw everything away, he asked, his voice desperate now. Yandy finally turned to face him again. Everything, she repeated. You mean the lies, the disrespect, the embarrassment. That's not fair, he said. What's not fair, she challenged. Me finally choosing myself. He didn't respond immediately, because deep down, he knew she had a point. I loved you, she said. Softer now, but still firm. I really did. Loved, he repeated. Past tense. She nodded slowly, and that silence between them, it felt heavier than anything that had been said inside that club. And that silence between them, it felt heavier than anything that had been said inside that club. For a moment, neither of them moved, like the world had paused just to force them to sit in the reality of what was happening. Mendeecees Harris looked at Yandy Smith Harris like he was seeing her clearly for the first time that night, not as someone he could explain things to later, not as someone who would calm down and forgive him like before, but as someone who was actually slipping away. You don't mean that, he said again, quieter this time, almost like he was trying to convince himself more than her, but Yandy didn't flinch. I do, she replied, her voice steady now in a way that felt final. Like all the emotion had already burned through her system, and what was left was clarity. You don't get to keep hurting me and then act surprised when I finally walk away. Mendeecees ran his hands through his hair, pacing slightly like he was trying to figure out how to fix something that had already broken beyond repair. This isn't us, he said, shaking his head. This isn't how our story ends. Yandy let out a breath and looked at him. Really looked at him. Like she was memorizing the version of him she was about to leave behind. No, she said quietly. This is exactly how it ends. Not with love, not with respect, but with the truth finally showing up when you couldn't hide it anymore. That line hit him harder than anything else she had said all night, and you could see it in his face. The realization, the regret, the panic starting to creep in. People nearby were still watching, still whispering. Some pretending to be on their phones, but clearly recording every second. Fans are shocked because this wasn't just drama anymore. This felt like the collapse of something people had watched, supported, and believed in for years. You're letting one moment ruin everything, he said, his tone shifting slightly as if he was trying a different approach. Something more logical, more controlled, but Yandy shook her head immediately. One moment, she repeated, her voice rising just enough to cut through his words. This is not one moment. This is a pattern. This is a habit. This is who you've been when I'm not around. He opened his mouth to respond, but stopped himself, and that hesitation once again spoke louder than anything he could have said. Exactly, she added, nodding slowly. Because you know I'm right. Emotions ran high, but Yandy wasn't yelling anymore. And somehow that made everything feel even more intense, more serious, more permanent. I kept giving you chances, she continued, her voice calm but heavy. I kept telling myself it would get better, that you would change, that we would grow. But all you did was get better at hiding things. Mendeecees stepped closer again, more cautious this time, like he was approaching something fragile. I didn't hide anything, he said, but even as the words left his mouth, they sounded weak, unconvincing. You told another woman we were separated. Yandy shot back instantly. That's not hiding. That's rewriting reality. He exhaled sharply, clearly frustrated now. I said that because things haven't been good between us. That doesn't give you the right to lie about our marriage, she replied, cutting him off before he could continue. You don't get to downgrade me to make yourself look available. That line made a few people nearby react out loud, and the tension only deepened. The family was left divided in spirit already because you could just imagine the conversations that were going to happen after this, the sides that would be taken, the blame that would be thrown around, and the truth that would be twisted depending on who was telling it. Mendeecees looked around briefly, clearly aware of the attention, then back at Yandy, lowering his voice again. You're doing too much right now. Yandy actually smiled at that, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was disbelief mixed with exhaustion. I'm doing too much, she repeated softly. After everything you just did, I'm the one doing too much. He shook his head, like he was trying to regain control of the narrative. We can fix this, he said, more firmly now, like he was trying to speak it into existence. We've been through worse. That statement hung in the air for a second before Yandy responded. Have we? She asked, her tone genuinely curious for a split second. Have we really been through worse than you choosing someone else over me while still calling me your wife? Mendeecees immediately shook his head. I didn't choose her. Yandy stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. Every action is a choice, she said. Every lie is a choice. Every time you entertained something outside of this marriage. That was you choosing something that wasn't me. He didn't have a response for that, and that silence, once again, told the whole story. Yandy nodded slowly, almost like she was confirming something to herself. Yeah, she said under her breath. That's what I thought. A car pulled up nearby, but neither of them moved. Neither of them ready to fully separate just yet, even though the emotional distance between them was already massive. So what now? Mendeecees asked finally, his voice quieter, less defensive, more uncertain. Now, Yandy repeated, like she was tasting the word. Now I go home, I pack what's mine, and I figure out my life without you in it. His face dropped slightly at that, the reality of her words settling in. You're serious, he said. Yandy nodded. I've never been more serious about anything. He stepped even closer, his voice dropping lower. And what about everything we built? Yandy looked at him for a long second before answering. You should have thought about that before you started tearing it down piece by piece. That line landed hard, and for a moment, it felt like there was nothing left to say. The air between them was thick with everything that had been said and everything that hadn't. People were still watching, but it felt distant now, like this moment had shrunk down to just the two of them standing in the aftermath of something that couldn't be undone. I can't lose you, Mendeecees said finally, his voice cracking, just slightly, just enough to show that this was real for him now. That the consequences had finally caught up. Yandy's expression softened for the briefest second. Just a flicker of the love that used to be there, but it disappeared just as quickly. You already did, she said quietly. And that was it. No yelling, no dramatic exit, Just the truth sitting between them like a wall that neither of them could climb over. She turned again, this time without hesitation, without looking back, and started walking toward the car that had just pulled up. Mendeecees stood there, watching her go, knowing that chasing her again wouldn't change anything, knowing that whatever chance he had to fix this had already passed him by the moment. He decided to live like he was single, while still holding on to a marriage. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the entire situation left everyone who witnessed it with one question hanging in the air. Was this really the end? Or just the beginning of something even messier waiting to unfold? And as Yandy Smith Harris slid into the back seat of the car, she didn't look back, not even once. And that alone told you everything about where her mind was at, because this wasn't one of those dramatic exits where someone expects to be chased and convinced to stay. This was a woman who had reached her limit, and the silence inside that car felt louder than the entire club they had just left behind. Her chest rising and falling as she tried to steady her breathing, replaying every second of what just happened, every word, every look, every lie. And outside, Mendeecees Harris remained frozen on that sidewalk, hands on his head, pacing once, then stopping, clearly realizing that this wasn't something he could smooth over with a few texts or a late-night apology like before. This was different. This was final in a way that hit deeper than anything he had faced with her before. And as the car pulled off, the reality settled in heavier, because for the first time, she didn't give him a chance to fix it. She didn't leave the door cracked open. She shut it completely, and inside the vehicle, Yandy finally let a tear fall, just one at first, then another. But even in that moment, she wiped them away quickly, almost like she refused to let herself break down completely, because deep down, she knew this wasn't just about what happened tonight. This was about everything that led up to it. Every doubt she ignored, every rumor she defended him against, every time she chose loyalty over logic. And now all of it had come crashing down in one public, undeniable moment. And back at the club, the scene she left behind was already turning into chaos of a different kind. People talking over each other, phones buzzing, clips already being sent out, because fans are shocked in moments like this don't stay private. Not in this world, not with this many eyes watching. And Mendeecees could feel that pressure building instantly, the whispers getting louder, the looks getting heavier, and even the woman who had been at the center of it all had disappeared quietly, slipping out of the spotlight as fast as she could, leaving him alone to deal with the fallout. And that's when his phone started vibrating nonstop. Calls, messages, notifications, stacking on top of each other, names popping up from family, friends, even people he hadn't spoken to in months. Because news travels fast, but drama travels faster. And he stared at the screen for a second before locking it again, not ready to face any of it yet, not ready to answer questions he didn't even have answers for himself. And across town, Yandy finally spoke, her voice low but steady, as she gave the driver her address. And once those words left her mouth, it felt symbolic, like she was reclaiming control over her own direction again, no longer waiting on someone else to decide where things were going. And as the car moved through the city lights, she leaned her head back and closed her eyes for a moment. But even then, her mind wouldn't rest, images flashing. His face, that woman, the way he hesitated when she asked him the truth. And that hesitation kept replaying louder than anything else, because it confirmed everything she had been trying not to believe. And at the same time, back outside the club, Mendeecees finally moved, running a hand down his face before pulling his phone out again, this time opening it, scrolling, hesitating, then finally dialing. And when the call didn't go through, when it went straight to silence, that's when it really hit him. She had already started cutting him off, already started putting distance between them in ways he couldn't immediately undo. And emotions ran high not just in that moment, but in everything that followed. Because what happened that night didn't stay contained to those few minutes. It spread, it escalated, it turned into conversations behind closed doors, into opinions from people who felt like they knew their story. And by the time Yandy reached home, stepping out of that car with a composed expression that didn't match the storm inside her, she was already making decisions, already planning her next move, already preparing herself for the reality of a life that no longer included him in the same way. And as she walked inside, the silence of the house felt different, heavier, like even the walls knew something had changed. And she didn't hesitate, didn't sit down, didn't second-guess herself. She went straight to the bedroom, opening drawers, pulling things out, not in a chaotic way, but in a controlled, deliberate way that made it clear this wasn't an impulsive reaction. This was something she had been building toward emotionally for a long time, and each item she touched carried memories, moments that once meant something. now feeling distant, almost, and she paused for a second, holding one thing in her hand before setting it down again, shaking her head slightly, as if reminding herself why she was doing this. And meanwhile, across the city, Mendeecees finally got into his car, sitting behind the wheel but not starting it right away, just staring ahead, his mind racing, trying to piece together how things escalated this far, how one night turned into something that could potentially end everything, and for the first time, there was no distraction, no noise, no crowd, just him and the consequences of his own actions. And that's when the weight of it all started to sink in deeper, because it wasn't just about being caught, it was about what being caught revealed, the cracks that had been there long before tonight, now fully exposed, impossible to ignore. And the family was left divided even before they had a chance to speak on it, because you could already imagine the different reactions. Some blaming him, some questioning her decision to walk away so quickly, some trying to mediate, others choosing sides. And as he finally started the car and pulled off into the night, there was one thought that kept replaying in his mind over and over again. Not the argument, not the crowd, not even the embarrassment, but her words. Simple and final, "I'm done." And the way she said it made it clear this wasn't a threat, this wasn't temporary. This was a line that had been crossed for the last time. And back in that quiet house, Yandy sat on the edge of the bed for a moment, suitcase partially filled, hands resting in her lap as she stared ahead, and for the first time since everything happened, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of it. Not just anger, not just betrayal, but loss. Because no matter how justified she was in walking away, it still meant letting go of something that once meant everything. And that's the part nobody sees, the part behind the strength, the part where the silence gets loud and the questions start creeping in. But even she refused to go back, ending the cycle and choosing pain over repetition, turning one brutal night into a permanent shift. Now, fans question if Yandy Smith Harris and Mendeecees Harris are truly finished or hiding deeper truths. As reactions grow and the next chapter remains uncertain for everyone involved today,